Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Ohio Pork Council virtual field trip. My name is Melissa Bell, and I work with the Ohio Pork Council as the Director of Membership Outreach. So I work with producers across our state, and today I'm happy to be hosting you folks for our virtual field trip. So before we introduce our farmer, I would like to thank the sponsors who provide dollars to be able to support this program. I'd like to thank Farm Credit Services of Mid-America, the Ohio Soybean Council, and Cargill. So special thanks to those groups because they're the ones that are able to bring these virtual field trips to you. So with that, I would now like to introduce our farmer today. We have with us Rebecca Serber, and Rebecca is going to tell us a little bit about herself, her farm, and then she's also going to talk to us about her pigs. So Rebecca, take it away.
Hi, how are you? My name's Rebecca Serber, and I am a pig farmer here in Ohio. My family and I run about 24 wean to finishing farms, and we have 4 sow units in our family that we also run here in Ohio. So today we're in Highland County. We are at the Highland Barn, and it has a 2,000 head capacity of these little baby pigs.
Sounds great. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about what that barn is like and what you do in that barn?
Sure, so I'll turn you back around here to the babies. So what we do here in the Highland Barn is every Friday, we receive a wean of pigs. So the piglets are coming from their mom. They've been with mom for 21 days. They load up onto a truck and they are transported here to our farm. We bring them off of the truck into the farm and we put them in the pens that you see here by size. So we sort them from biggest to littlest, and then we hand feed the pigs when they come in. We make sure that they all know where the water is. They're feed in the feeder, and then after 7 days, they can be switched from hand fed to automatic feeding, which is the feed that is in the feeder currently. And we raise them here at this nursery for about 4, maybe 5 weeks. And then we transport them to another barn where they are going to grow for the rest of their lives. That short 6 months that it's going to take for them to look like these cute little fellas here to the 280 pounds that are going to go on to be mothers in our sow farms or bacon on your plate.
Rebecca, how about if we have Dan show a slide of what the outside of the barn looks like?
Absolutely. So in that farm is where, inside the farm is where the pigs will stay. They transport from truck to farm and then inside the farm, and we keep them inside the barn like that so we can take away all of the things that could hurt them, the changes of the weather, the animals that could be predators to the pigs. So there are lots of reasons to keep the pigs inside the farm like that. It's biosecure. We're able to shower in and shower out of the facility. So that means we are leaving all the potential dangers that we could bring into the pigs outside.
Remind me again, how many pigs are in that building that you are in right now?
There are currently 2,000 pigs in this farm now.
Okay, sounds good. And I know you mentioned the biosecurity a little bit. Can you explain a little bit more about why they're always raised inside and some of the advantages to having a building that those pigs can be raised inside?
Absolutely. So there are lots of bugs, lots of illnesses, sicknesses that the pigs can catch from the outside. So we have brought the pigs inside to remove all of those potential hazards for the pigs. So themselves aren't exposed to any of the outside sicknesses. And we, as the farm workers, shower in and shower out of the facilities. And that means we come into the barn in our street clothes, everything comes off, and we shower into the barn head to toe. And then we have clothing inside the farm for all of the workers, and they change into their working clothes and boots. So everything in the facility stays in the facility, and everything, it's an all in, all out facility. So there are washers and dryers here. We have refrigerators for the medications, and we just want to be sure that the pigs can stay as healthy as possible. And again, we bringing them inside, we've also eliminated any predators that would be harmful to the pigs as well.
Rebecca, can you kind of pan around and show them what 2,000 pigs looks like? What does that whole barn look like?
So this is one room, and that is the door to get into the room. And you can see there the feeders and the motors that run the feed. There are fans in the barn. The curtains that you're seeing are, the section there is automated, which means when the temperature is hot outside, that curtain will come down and let fresh air in. The lone curtain here that you're going to see is an emergency drop curtain, which means if anything were to happen inside the farm, that curtain would automatically drop and let fresh air into the farm. If the power were to go off for an extended amount of time, that curtain would drop and allow fresh air to go throughout the building.
How many pigs are in each pen?
So we have about probably 35 to 60 pigs in each pen, depending on size of pig. So with the babies being as little as they are, we can let about 50 pigs grow together until that 50-pound mark.
Gotcha. Sounds good. And so what do they do in the pen each day? So can you show us a little bit about what they're, how they eat and drink, that kind of thing?
I can. So if you look here, you see them on a mat. You can see where the slats end and the mat begins. So they have a brooder here, and that brooder is a heat source for them because they like to be all warm and toasty. So throughout the day, they will come up here and get snug and take a nap on the mats. Across from the mats, you have their feeders. So let's see if we can be nosy to somebody. So they eat, and they have access to clean, fresh water, food, and air 24/7. So let's see. Here's a waterer. And so they just come up into the waterer and hit that little button there with their snouts, and it gives them fresh water anytime that they want that. So they have access to their food, their water, and their napping.
Okay, perfect. Well, let's talk a little bit about their feed. What kinds of things are in their feed?
So it is a main base of corn and soybean, and then it is mixed with vitamins and minerals that they would need to grow. We have 9 stages of feed that we give to the babies throughout their lives. They start on, here's a milk-based pellet. So you can see the pellets there. And as they move on from the milk-based pellet, they'll go to more of a ground feed that has that corn, soybean, oats mixed with the vitamins and minerals.
All right, so my next question is, if they're eating in there and they're drinking in there and they're napping in there, they're probably also using the bathroom in there. So can you talk a little bit about where do they use the bathroom? Where does all that poo go? What happens to it after that?
Absolutely. So pigs are one of the biggest recyclers. So they do eat, drink, and poo all day. So unbeknownst to most people, pigs like clean. So this is why you'll see them eating up here and sleeping up here. But they will do their business most likely in the back of the pen. So the barn sits on a pit, and all of the manure or water or feed waste goes into the pit. So all of the bodily functions go into the pit. The pits are then usually spring and fall. They are the manure and slurry, water slurry is taken out twice a year and applied to the fields. So the corn that they're eating also helps the corn that we grow to help them eat. So it's a very great cycle for the pigs and for the farmers. So our farms, if you look at the picture or saw the picture or remember the picture, most of our farms sit very, very close to a farmer's field. And those farmers will take the manure from the pits and apply those to their fields for their fertilizer and for the growth of their whatever they're choosing to grow that season.
So let's talk a little bit, Rebecca, about the life cycle of the pig. I mean, obviously, we can see that these are smaller pigs. So can we talk a little bit about, when these pigs come in, how much they weigh, and then how you transition in the buildings, and then when they are full grown? And if Dan can probably throw up some slides too that can provide some visuals of what that looks like.
When a pig is pregnant, it takes 3 months, 3 weeks, 3 days for them to have their babies. And the babies are a litter of pigs. And so they stay with their moms in the sow units there where they've had their litter for approximately 21 days, so about a month. And after that month, we have workers that will go through the pens and bring those pigs to a semi. The semi then brings the pigs to us where we sort them. So at that 21-day mark, they are usually 12 to 15 pounds at weaning. So at that 21-day mark, we'll sort them and we will grow them to approximately 50 pounds. And it takes about 3 to 5 weeks to get that 50-pound mark. And once they hit the 50-pound mark here, we're going to load them onto a truck again and take them to a feeder to finish barn. So they are going to then go from that 50 pounds to 280 pounds in about 6 months. So really about 5 to 4 months because we've kept them at our nursery here for that first month of their lives to get them to that 50 pounds. So once they've reached that 280-pound mark, depending on the pig need and where we need them and how they're looking, we choose them to go back into the sow units as a gilt to then be bred to have another litter, or they are chosen to go on to be a market hog, which means they're going to be your ham and your bacon.
Sounds good. So let's talk now, if we can. Tell me, like, what does your average day look like? What do you do all day as a pig farmer?
So the first thing I'm going to do is come to the farm and I'm going to take a shower. So I'm going to shower in to the facility. Um, there's a paperwork aspect of it. So every day we are checking the temperature inside the barn. We're checking the water usage inside the barn because usually that is the first time where you're going to see if any pigs are not feeling well. That if they're not feeling well, they're not going to be drinking. So we track that every single day. We write down all of that information. And then we're going to come into the barn, into each room, and we're going to walk each pen, and we're going to see every pig. And if there's a pig that isn't feeling well, that pig is going to get an injection, just like if the kids didn't feel good at school and their parents take them to the doctor, that's what we're going to do. We're going to make sure that every pig is feeling well and is at its best. And after that, we will go room to room, pig to pig, and make sure that everybody is got water, everybody has food, and everybody is feeling well. And we're also going to be checking the environment of the barn to make sure that if it doesn't feel good to us, that it doesn't feel good to the pigs. So we are always checking everything that would have everything to do with the pigs and how they feel and and what they're doing for the day. And if a pig doesn't feel good, get very lethargic. And so you just look for those symptoms. And we have 2 of these nurseries. So when I am touring the nurseries, that is my full day. Each nursery has 4 rooms, and the rooms take about an hour each to chore to make sure that every pig is at its best.
So can you go ahead and pan? Yep, just like that. Pan down. Let's show the students what you're wearing to the barn so they understand. And then maybe if you want to get down kind of low and they can see how those pigs like to get up next to you and play.
Oh, yes. So I have muck boots on, and the piglets are chewing me to death. I am a play toy to them. So I have my muck boots on. We have coveralls inside the barn for everyone, medium to large. I'm actually wearing a pair of scrub pants and a t-shirt and a do-rag today. So my scrub pants, my t-shirt. So if you stay in one place for too long, the piglets will definitely use you as a chew toy.
All right. Well, at this time, how about if we open it up and let the students ask some questions that they may have for you, Rebecca? Does that work?
Absolutely.
Okay, Jill, do your students have questions?
We do. We have hands. So if you guys have a question, when we call on you, we're going to have you stand up so they can see you, okay? Okay, sir in the red shirt there in the back. Yep, stand up.
I have a question.
Real loud.
Where do they usually sleep?
Where do they sleep, Rebecca?
So the pigs sleep under the brooder here. Let me turn you around so you can see. So typically, there's the brooder, and there are the mats on the floor. That is where they typically choose to, I'll pan out. So
You guys have to be quiet to listen.
But if you see those guys over there, they're all laying down. They're here on me because they like to chew on me rather than lay down while I'm in their pen. But there's kind of a designated area. The mats are black, so they hold the heat. So the piglets really like to be warm when they're sleeping. So typically, they will sleep right under the brooders.
Okay, remember, good questions. Okay. Stand up so they can see you. There you go. Talk real loud.
Do the pigs like to play a lot?
The pigs do play. It's almost just like when I am explaining it to other people, the pigs are just like kids, and they go through the same they go through the same kind of cycles. They're babies and they're kind of lazy, and then they are toddlers and they're really frisky and like to run and like to play and like pick. And then they're teenagers where they just don't care and they're dirt.
Okay, next question. How about you right there, sir? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do they do they have to at least be 180?
So he wants to know if they need to be 280 pounds for market. Can you talk about the process of picking the size for market?
We select the pigs. So that's a great question. And so if they are going to market, 280 pounds is the goal weight for a pig to go to market. but we have purchasers throughout the United States and overseas that will put an order in for the pigs at different sizes. So I have had orders for 50-pound pigs, 20-pound pigs, 150-pound pigs. So it is really what the buyer wants for their herd. So it's where they are in their process and what they need in their process. So that's a great question, but our goal is a 280 mark for the slaughter, and that's kind of when the pigs mature and can go on to be mothers as well. So that's at that point we will be looking at their stature and how the whole body looks and whether or not they can be a mom or if they need to go on to be a slaughter pig.
Okay, so next question right there.
Do pigs have teeth? Like,
Do pigs have teeth?
They do have teeth. They're little tiny pinchy teeth. Like I don't know if we have a slide of that or not, but yes, they have their teeth and they will use them to go back and forth to grind their feed. So yes, they can bite, and yes, they do bite, and yes, they can leave marks.
Calm down,
do
Nut.
you know what their predators are?
What are their predators?
What are their predators? Dogs could be their predators. Anything outside that would be bigger than them. Anything that a wolf or, excuse you, good night. But I would say the dogs and the bigger animals that are free to roam outside would be their number one predators.
Do the pigs have chew toys?
The people that chore their barns. And sometimes we will add chains to the gates as they grow. And a lot of my other finished barns, we will attach chains to the sides of the gates and they will chew on those, and I would consider those chew toys. But they get very, very comfortable with their person who chores the barn, who is looking after them every day. And this is usually what will happen. You become their chew toy.
Back row, pink shirt. Hands down till the next question. Stand up, talk real loud.
Do the pigs always have to be separated?
So she means by their weight or by their gender? Do you typically separate that way, or do they have to be separated like that?
We do. And in our farms, we choose to separate them by gender and by weight. So we want them to have the best chance of growing as they can. So if I have a small 5 pigs in with 20 big pigs, those bigger pigs are going to bully the smaller pigs because they will eat first, they will drink first, and they will sleep first. There is definitely a pecking order in the farm starting from day one. So even when we sort the pigs and we move pigs that haven't been together, they start a pecking order at day one. And that kind of stays the pecking order unless something were to happen in the pen. If a pig got sick or didn't feel well, then that pig would lose its quote unquote rank in the pen, and it would move down, you know, in the social status of the pen.
How tall can an adult pig grow?
So how tall can an adult pig grow?
Ooh, I don't know if you can tell from the gates, but I have had boars that are as tall as the gates. So I would say 3 feet, 3 feet tall. They get very big very quickly. So if you can imagine a full-grown Great Dane that tall, I have seen pigs that tall.
Talk real loud.
How much pounds of meat do you grow a pig?
So how much meat do you get from a grown pig? So basically carcass weight.
Yeah, so we use a lot of the pig, and about 60% of that 280-pound pig will actually be used as as a meat product that will be sold in the store. So, but you have to remember too then that they're using a lot of the other parts for additional things. So it's usually about 60 to 70% of that pig, that hog can be used for actual meat. That is a good question.
What is the most that pig had?
Oh, so what has been the biggest pig that you have had? So how big, how sizable was it?
We attach ourselves to these little guys sometimes, and at one of our sow units we had a boar that was there for quite some time. I want to say maybe 2 or 3 years, and he probably weighed between 600 and 800 pounds when he finally left. He was a very, very big, very loved boy.
How fast can a pig what? How fast can a pig run?
So, and they still run very, very quickly when they are grown as well, as we have found out trying to load them on a truck. If they sneak by us, they think they are free, they're free, and they run. So they are very fast animals.
Jill, let's ask, if it's okay with you, how about we do 2 more questions?
Yep. Okay. All right. So real quiet so we can ask a question. How much does a pig eat a day? That's a very good question.
That is a really good question. Usually, again, it depends on the size of the pigs. Good Lord, somebody's not happy. Okay, sorry. Usually they'll eat about 6 pounds per pig per day when they're a little bit bigger.
All right, one last question. Holy cow! Okay, so black shirt right there. Nope. Everybody else sit down. Sit down. Here you go, sir. Talk real loud. So is there a difference between a pig and a boar?
So it's a difference really between a girl and a boy. So I think there was a slide that Dan had put up there earlier about a gilt being a pig that had not had babies yet. And then there are boars that are intact male pigs. And there are barrows that are boy pigs who have been neutered. So yeah, they're the slides.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much. First of all, I'd like to thank our farmer. Thank you, Rebecca, for being here.
Thank you.
A lot about your farm. I think you can see the kids waving, saying thank you so much for sharing with us.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me. I hope you enjoyed the tour.
And thank
Okay,
you.
If you have a pig, it needs to stay down.
Thank you to Jill, to your kids for being so great. They were very good listeners and very respectful. And so we thank you so much for joining with us today and learning more about Ohio pork. So with that, thanks a lot. And we hope you come back and join us again next year for another virtual field trip.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Jill.